This week on Dishes with Del, we are making an Indian feast. It's a veggie delight. It's just, my God, I can't wait. We've got these amazing potatoes in this like tomato curry paste. It's just super delicious. We've got a classic Saag Paneer a la Del because it's got Halloumi in it, not Saag. So that's all one out there for you Halloumi lovers. We've got an egg curry, which is just like nothing you've ever tasted before. It has completely different flavors from a regular curry, but it's absolutely delicious. We've got this beauty, which is the broccoli roasted in the oven with yogurt and spices and just yum. We've got pilaf rice and we've got some onion and spiced chapati roti style breads. So it's a big one this week. We're going to get stuck into it because there's a lot going on. I really hope that you enjoy this as much as I do because it really is a joy to make it. So let's get into it, guys, and I'll see you on the other end. So it's a big one this week. If you fast forward into any of the sections, they're all broken up. So if you don't want to make the whole thing, but you want to make one of the curries, or maybe just the rice, or maybe just the broccoli, whichever it is, you can fast forward onto them sections. I've broken it all up nicely for you so that everything is easy to digest. Yeah, guys, this is gonna be a big one. But as always, what does Del say? Mise en place. It's the most important part of making this feast. So as you can see here, I've already done all of my prep. It's all because it's all actually got lots of similar ingredients in the base of each and every one. The only thing that differs is what we cook and how we cook it and what spices we put in. But essentially, as you can see, onion, 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 onion. Ginger, 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 garlic, garlic, garlic. It's everywhere. So what I would say when you're making this is and if you're going to make them all, I mean, of course, you can break these down one curry, one curry, one curry. But because I'm making the whole lot, I have done every single piece of prep already. And that is because it's all the same thing. So why not, instead of just cutting one onion for this, cutting the ginger, the garlic, coriander, then moving on to the next plate where I need to chop the exact same ingredients, just chop everything. So I've done all the chopping of all the vegetables all at the same time and then divided it up onto my plates, all ready to go. There's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be busy. So this way we can easily keep control of everything. And also it's a great way because, you know, a recipe says 1 tablespoon of this, 1 tablespoon of that, 1 tablespoon of this, 1 tablespoon of that. Why not have it all ready to go? The only thing that I haven't weighed out is our spices and separate spices, purely because I do not have enough containers. I mean, I could pile it up on the plates, but you know, that I don't mind doing each time. Or for each one, I'll get it ready as we do it. So, stop the video here if you're making this as an entire feast and get every single bit of prep done. All the recipes can be found on my website. That's in the description box down below, and then we can work out exactly what we needed. You know, roughly here for this, I had about 6 onions. I had probably about 20 cloves of garlic. You can buy the pureed stuff. I don't really like it. It's got kind of preservatives and stuff in it. I'd much prefer to crush it myself. Plus you get a truer garlic flavor. I've got ginger. I've got a good knob here, so we're gonna, you know, it's a sort of a teaspoon and a half to 2 teaspoons on each one. We've got 3 chilies, we've got a bunch of coriander, and yeah, that's pretty much the lot. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna go through each one individually. We're gonna start with the bread first because that needs a couple of hours to rise. So then while that's rising, we can make all of our other curries. And of course, this is a great thing. You can make it all the day before. You could make like the potato curry and the sauce for the saag the day before. You could make the sauce for the egg curry the day before. These are all things that can be prepared in advance. Plus, if you cook them the day before, we're gonna have a better flavor. But we're gonna do the whole lot and we're gonna get it all ready. So we're gonna go on to the first thing, which is gonna be the bread. So yeah, let's get on with this friggin' delicious feast, because I tell you what, I'm already hungry and we're not even anywhere near the end yet. And the smells here are just, you know, making that even more apparent. So let's get on with the cooking and get this stuff going. Okay, this is the bread. It's like roti, it's flaky, it's delicious, it's got lots of butter in it. You fry it in lots of butter. If you had ghee, amazing, that's what you actually would use, but I understand that a lot of people probably don't have that at home, and so butter is fine. You just have to be a little bit more careful because ghee is clarified butter, so it has none of the milk solids in it, which means it has a higher cooking temperature, which means you have less chance of things burning, but still the same amazing flavour. I think I may have said that these need to rise for 2 hours. I did not mean that. I meant that they need to rest. 2 hours, great. You know, if you cook them straight away, they probably also would be great, but I just like to get them done, you know, put them to one side, come back to them when I'm ready to go for dinner, and make them fresh because they are the best fresh. So here we've got our ingredients. I've got about a quarter of a cup, about quarter of a red onion, some coriander, leaves and stalks all chopped up. We've got about half a teaspoon of coriander seeds and cumin seeds. We've got some salt, and I've got wholemeal flour. Now, if you had chapati flour, that's what you really want to use, but again, I live somewhere where it's not always readily available, so wholemeal is fine. It's still absolutely delicious, yeah, so you know, you can use that instead. And that's it. This is really easy. What we're going to do is these, I'm just going to give a tiny crush, because you still want them pops of flavour from the seed. And they will still give that even though they're crushed, but you know, you don't always want to just bite into a whole seed because it's quite a lot. So they go in. About quarter of a teaspoon of table salt. We've got the butter, which I have just slightly softened. That's going to go in too. And then the flour. And all I'm going to do here is just pop a fork in, work it all through, and mix it all together. You know, smush that butter in a bit. Oh my God, it smells so delicious. Then crushed up coriander seeds really are just amazing. I think they're up there with like one of my favorite spices. I just absolutely love them. And then I've just got 150 mils of water, and we're just gonna pour that in. We're gonna mix it together again with the fork, and then get in there with our hands and make it into a ball. And then that's it. To the side, and we're going to rest it. Get all them bits off there, add in that last little bit of water, make sure it's all incorporated, and that's it. That's your dough ready to go. So especially with a wholemeal flour or chapati flour, the reason why that we need to let it rest is because that water needs to hydrate all of that flour, because it's a little bit denser, a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to cover this up with a tea towel and put it to one side, and then we're going to get on with the other stuff. I'm going to put a tiny bit of oil on the bench because I don't want to use any flour. Here is my dough. You can see it's wet. You know, it's a little bit tacky, but that's what we want. The gluten has formed wonderfully. There's a little bit of stretch in there. So what's great is that flour has fully hydrated. And then all we're going to do is take a little bit of cling film. We're going to oil that cling film, sit it on top of the dough, and that's how we're going to roll it out. And that's it. Done. And they go into the pan. So I'll show you the first one, and then it's just rinse and repeat. You should be able to just pick it up from the bench, and then you can pop it straight into the warm pan. So the pan's on a medium heat. There's a little bit of oil on that already, so we'll just sit it in the pan and we'll start to cook it. We want to do it a little bit slow because we want that onion to char, and then we're just going to add a big knob of butter when we turn it over, and then it will be done. You could even get two in the pan at the same time. As you see here on the first one, it started to change colour on the other side. So we'll just turn it over and let it continue to fry. Just pop another little knob of butter in there. Keep moderating that temperature, and as you can see, that second one has just got such lovely colour on it. Over here, it's doing great. Them onions are gonna have a little bit of a char and they're gonna be delicious. So I'm gonna finish these off and then we can plate up. And there they are, all fried off. As you can see what I'm talking about, they start to get that nice colour, a little bit of char on the onions, and they just have this lovely, flaky kind of texture. They are just absolutely, oh, yum. Oniony, really herby, and it feels good for you because it's whole wheat flour, but it's just absolutely yum. I mean, yes, they're fried in a lot of butter, but it doesn't matter because they're absolutely delicious. Next up, we're gonna make the broccoli. So this guy, also incredible to make the day before, because then everything can soak in and it is just going to be absolutely delicious, and then you bake it when you're ready to eat. You could use anything with this marinade, a cauliflower, you could use chicken, you could use tofu, you could just use absolutely anything. This marinade, so good, so delicious. We just bake it in the oven. So we're going to get this one done next, then it can have a little bit of time to soak up them flavours and just be absolutely knockout. So this is kind of in two parts of a marinade, but it's all obviously going on the same thing. But we're just going to separate them slightly so that there's kind of a base flavour and then a coating. So what you need is a good couple of tablespoons of veg oil, and then we're going to go about half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of Kashmiri chilli, half a teaspoon of onion seeds, teaspoon of the curry powder, and then we are going to add some of our prep. So we're going to go the ginger and garlic, add that in, and then here, these are curry leaves. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any fresh ones, so I've had to use dried, but they're still absolutely delicious. They still have lots of yummy flavour in them and they still taste incredible. If you have fresh ones, obviously that would be awesome. And then just give them a really good chop up. But because I've kind of got these dried ones, I'm just going to give them a good crush so that they all break up a little bit. Oh, curry leaves are incredible. They have the most amazing flavour. It's insane. So that's the first bit. Doesn't that look delicious? We're going to season it with a teaspoon of salt. And then this one we're going to rub all over the broccoli. So I would say get in there with your hands, spoon it all on. Oh my God, this is going to be, honestly, this is going to be amazing. And then just rub it. And I'm just going to do it over this dish because that's what I'm going to sit it in once it's finished. Rub in all them flavours. Pick this stuff back up again. Really smush it in there. You want to get them, you want to get it in everywhere. Really make sure that that flavour is all over the broccoli. I don't know if it's just because I'm from the UK, but I'm grown up with curry and Indian and, you know, all these like delicious smells and spices, but oh my God, I just love it. I just absolutely love it. Here are 2 bits of the stalk. We're also going to cook them. So I'm just going to rub them in that oil too, so that they've got some of that flavour. And then what's quite handy is we can sit the broccoli, we can give it 2 little wedges like this so that it sits and doesn't go anywhere. Okay. Now you're thinking, hey Del, there's still some stuff left here. Get all of this off your hands. Get it all back in there. I mean, ideally, if there was another person in the house, they could come and help you right now, because that would be very helpful. Now what we're going to do is put in the last little bit. So we've got some more of the curry leaves. Rip them up, add them in. Get that all in there. Delicious. And then I've got some green chilli. This is optional. You know, I quite like a bit of spice, and it's nice to have something to counterbalance the yogurt, which we are going to add next. Screw it, I took the lid off already. I'm just going to have my hands like this. So we want 1, 2 tablespoons of yogurt, and then we're going to add a little bit more of the curry powder and the turmeric. So another little 1/4 teaspoon of the curry powder, the Kashmiri curry powder, and another 1/2 teaspoon of the turmeric. And then, again, just mix this all together. And it's really good to use the bowl that you already used, because then you're going to get all of them extra flavours out. And that's it, something like that. I don't know whether the microphone just picked that up, but that was my belly rumbling. That's how delicious this smells. Anyway, get it all mixed up. We'll put it all on here, all over this broccoli. Get that last little bit. And this, we're just going to smush all over the top. And this, when we bake it, is just going to create the most beautiful crust. So get that all in there. Again, smush it all in. And that's the broccoli done. Super simple. Again, this all comes down to the fact that my mise en place was all ready. So I can just put it all together and we're done. So that's going to sit in the fridge, and we're going to leave it until the end when we're ready to cook. And the broccoli goes in, and at the 35-minute mark for the broccoli, we'll turn it up to 220 degrees for another 5 minutes. And finally, that insane broccoli. Okay, so the next curry is the potato curry. So this one we need to cook, so I'm going to get this on, and again you can cook it the day before and it will be absolutely delicious because all them flavours will really soak into the potatoes. Again, mise en place, very important. I've even peeled my potatoes, and so here I've got my potatoes. I've taken them out, popped them in a colander, sat them on there. They were already in the water, but we do want to kind of just dry them off so that we can fry them nicely. And yeah, we've got some onion, garlic, chilies, tomato. You could use a whole fresh tomato for this, but I've got about 1/2 can of just tinned tomatoes because fresh ones are really expensive right now. Of course, that would be delicious, but it just wasn't available. So what we need to do first is just make a little bit of a paste. So we're going to take half of this onion. We're going to take the bits of green chilli. Again, totally optional because there is also chilli in it. Some dried chilies. Wait, there's one of them, a Kashmiri chili, and I had a Thai bird's eye. Again, maybe not totally authentic, but that's what I had in the fridge. And then we're going to take probably, yeah, 4. We're going to take about 3 tablespoons of the tomato. All of these we'll just keep, and they're going to go over by the stove because we're going to use them in a minute. And to this, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water, and then also I've got some water in this can, which we're going to use when we cook the potatoes. So I don't know if you've ever seen me talk about this before, but you know, we've emptied the tomatoes out of this can, and then I've just filled it back up with water and sloshed it all around so that we've got all the extra bits out of the can. Really great thing to do. So we'll just add a tiny little dribble of that to there so that there's some liquid to blend this with, and then we're just going to give that a blend. You can do it any way you like, but we just need to blend it into a paste. And that's it, blended. Oh, it smells yum. Oh, and then when we cook that out, it's going to be delicious. So that's ready as well. That can go to the stove. The potatoes can also go over there. And then finally, all it will be is some spices. We're going to use some cumin seeds. If you had a bay leaf, that would be amazing, but I don't have any, something like that. And then we're just going to use some turmeric and some chili powder. So that's all we need to get this together. Really simple, really easy. With the potatoes, also important. You can leave them whole, but it just takes a really long time to cook, so that's why I cut them up. And it just makes it a little bit quicker for when we cook it. So we're just going to head to the stove and show you how this is all put together. Okay, so we need a medium to low heat, and we're going to put a good old bit of oil in the bottom because we're going to fry the potatoes and we don't want them to stick. First thing we need to do is we're going to put into the oil the chilies and a teaspoon of cumin seeds, and we're going to toast them off, and then we're going to add the potatoes. So here we go. They're starting to get hot and they're starting to sizzle. And you want to make sure, you know, pop your hand just above it. You want to make sure that this pan is getting warm because we need to fry the potatoes in this without them sticking. They've been drying in the colander, and so they should have no moisture really left in them. And then we're just going to pop them in. And we're going to cook these until they start to get a little bit of colour on each side. You can see here the potatoes have started to get a nice little golden brown on them, and we're just going to add half a teaspoon of turmeric and toast them off. And then we're going to take them potatoes out. With a slotted spoon. So all that oil stays in the pan. And then we're going to make the sauce. So turn it back on a low heat. We're going to add the rest of the diced onions, sweat them off. And now we're going to add in that lovely paste that we made. I'm going to use this bit of water to slosh that all out later. As you can see, this starts to change quickly, the colour. And you'll know when this part's cooked because the oil will slightly separate from the tomatoes. As you can see there, the oil is slightly starting to separate, so we can add the next bit of spices. So we're going to add half a teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of garam masala, and half a teaspoon of coriander powder. And we'll let that cook for a few more minutes. As you can see, it's become lovely and thick and just looks absolutely delicious. It smells incredible. And then we're going to add the last bit of tomato. Give that a stir. Let that cook for a minute or two. We'll add in a little bit of salt now, and then we'll season right at the end. And then we're going to add back in the potatoes and all that lovely oil. And we're just going to cover it with some water and let them simmer on a low heat for 20 minutes, and then we'll have a look. You just have to be careful towards the end. As you can see here, you know, it's kind of starting to get thick. It might catch, so you know, you just need to constantly give it a little stir and make sure that it's you know, not sticking. And then this guy's pretty much ready. And that's it. Doesn't it look incredible? The sauce has all really reduced and become nice and thick and really coating them potatoes. And it just looks fab. What you want to make sure is that when you're cooking this on the stove, this is another reason why I said I don't really like keeping the potatoes whole, cut them up, because you want to make sure that they're knife tender when you finish. You want your knife to be able to gently go all the way through it, because there is nothing worse than a crunchy potato. Oh, maybe there is crunchy aubergine, but you really want to make sure that they are cooked So when you're cooking it, if it starts to reduce and starts to look like this and then potatoes aren't done, just add a little bit more water. So add a bit more water and then, you know, cook it for a little bit longer. I would say that this probably took about 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes on the stove to cook down to get to this, and they're all cooked. And yeah, that's it. This amazing tomato, spicy potato curry. So what's important is that we give it a little taste. As remember, we haven't really put any seasoning in this. Obviously it's had lots of spice, but not really any seasoning apart from that little bit of salt at the beginning. It tastes so yum. It tastes so yum. Anyway, it does need a little bit of salt, but not much. It only needs a little bit, you know, just to kind of bring all of them flavours back together again. So that's that one done. Let's move on to the next curry. Next up on the list, Saag Paneer. So Saag literally translates as spinach, I believe. If I've got it wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. I apologise, but I believe that's what it is. And yeah, we're gonna make Saag Paneer, or Del's version of Saag Paneer, because I couldn't be bothered to make any paneer because we're already making this massive Indian feast and we don't need another thing on our plate, although you can make it the night before. I'm sure that there's a recipe out there that you can find. Maybe I'll make one day and you can then see how to do that too. But for now, we are not doing that. Also, quite hard to buy paneer in the supermarket. So, controversially, I've got some halloumi. Don't judge me, but why not? Also, it's salty, it's delicious, it fries nice, you get a crispy edge on it. What more could you possibly want? Please, please don't kill me, please. But why not? Sorry. So, Saag halloumi. That's what we're gonna call it. That's how it's gonna be labeled. And that's what we're going with. So again, we've got all of our prep ready. I've got frozen spinach here, 500 grams. I have squeezed the living daylights out of it so that there is none of that manky water left. Very important that you do it. We've got onion, we've got a little bit of coriander, we've got some chopped up coriander, a little bit of green chilli, ginger, and garlic again. These plates, they keep reappearing with almost the same things on them. That's why the mise en place is so important. I've also got that other little bit of the half a can of tomatoes that I had left from the potato curry. So we're gonna add that in. And then spices. You know, this one, bit of a free-for-all. We're gonna go with what we like. So I'm probably gonna put in a little bit of garam masala, maybe some onion seeds, and yeah, maybe a little bit of chili powder, but we've kind of got a lot of chili going on and other stuff. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna marinate this halloumi. So super simple. I actually have a tiny little bit of the oil left from the potatoes that was left on the plate. So I'm actually gonna use that because that's yum. But of course, if you didn't have this, which you may not, don't worry about it. We're just gonna marinate it in some other bits. You could do this the night before. We know me. I'm doing it as we're about to make it. But you know, 20 minutes is good enough. You're still gonna get a little bit of flavour in there and you're gonna make it still taste great, so why not? So I'll just do a little squirt more of oil, because obviously we're gonna fry this off in the pan anyway, so it does need a little bit of oil. And then we're just gonna go for a little bit of curry powder and a tiny little bit of turmeric. That's it. Again, just to give it a little bit of salmon. So that I'm just gonna put to one side. We're gonna make the sauce and then we're gonna fry that off and add it in. This one, very fast, doesn't take very long. And you know, you can blend it as much or as little as you like. I'm just gonna use the stick blender and just give it a little zzz, so that there's some, you know, thickness, so that some of that spinach is broken down, but you don't have to break it all up. Some people can't have this bit chunky. This one's a bit how you like it. Also, what you would normally do is maybe put a dash of cream into this right at the end to just kind of bring it all together. I'm actually just going to use a tiny little bit of coconut milk because I've got some that we need for the next recipe, but it's not the whole can, so I'm just going to use a tiny bit of that. It's just a little bit of creaminess, you know, just to bring it all together. So Again, let's get to the stove and get this guy cooked. Also, now I'm just gonna leave the apron on because I don't trust myself not to get it everywhere. We're gonna warm up the pan. I've got a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter. Again, if you had ghee, that would be like delicious and perfect to use for this, but I don't. So we're gonna go on a medium heat, and we're just gonna start cooking this off. This is so quick to make on its own, great curry. You could just make it, you know, on a weeknight, takes 5 minutes. And it's absolutely delicious. So what we're gonna do is just go in with the onion. I've got about 3/4 of an onion here. Oh, hear that? That's my gas, 1 second. Nothing like quickly having to sort out your ring burner because it's not working. Try again, there we go, that's better. Wonder what happened. Must have knocked it maybe when I was cleaning it. Anyway, so we get in the onion and then our ginger and our garlic. And we just start softening that all off. We're also going to add in the chilies and just get that all going. And when we add our spices this time, you know, it's important to often not be shy with spices because you want to make sure that you can taste them all. So we're just going to fry this off for a few minutes and then we'll add in some spices. So it's had a few minutes cooking. You know, you kind of never really want to rush this because you want to make sure that all the flavours come out, the onion and the garlic. It's always important to make them, you know, to really kind of sweat them down because that's where their sweetness comes from when they start to cook out. Again, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt now so that the onions can be softened down a little bit more. And then we'll add in the coriander and we're going to add the spices. So we're going to go for 1/2 teaspoon of curry powder, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/4 teaspoon of chili, 1/4 teaspoon of onion seeds, ting, and then a teaspoon of ground coriander and a teaspoon of garam masala. And now we're just going to cook that all out. Give it a couple of minutes. It should start to smell fab, which it does. I'm very excited. Oh yeah, that looks great. So just a few minutes frying just to kind of get them flavours to come out. And then we're going to add in the tomato. Again, if you had a fresh tomato, you could use that here. I'm just going to give that a few minutes to sweat down. And then we'll just add the spinach. And then we're just going to cook the spinach in that for like probably 4 or 5 minutes to really make sure that all of them flavours are on every bit of that spinach. Then we'll add a tiny bit of coconut milk and then we'll blend it. And that's the sauce done. So this is what it all looks like once it's cooked down. We had a classic moment there of where the thing did not record. So we've added the onions, the garlic, we've had it all, we've got it all, we've sweated it down, we've cooked it all together slowly, and we've ended up with this. Sorry guys. Now we're just gonna give it a blend and I'll show you what it looks like. And what we'll quickly do is just fry off that halloumi, get a nice bit of colour on all the edges, and then that can just sit to one side, and we can add it to the sauce when it's done. And what's great when you do this is you get some lovely crisp edges on your halloumi. And then also, one time just let them sit so they get a nice hard crisp on the edge. Yes, that's what you want. And that's done. So we can just pop that to one side and add it to the sauce. And I'll add just another little dash of the coconut milk. So then we add that back in, and that there is your saag. Done, completed. And then when it's finished like this, then you just add back in your halloumi. Or paneer, whichever it is you're using. Maybe that's why my camera stopped working, because the curry gods were like, hey Adele, you can't put halloumi in a paneer curry. but that's what happened. So apologies for the middle section there where you couldn't see what was happening. That's how it goes sometimes. Even though I've been doing this a while, I still sometimes do not get it right. And that's it. I mean, how incredible does that look? Now, again, we didn't put much salt in this. You've got to remember that the halloumi is salty. So you don't want to add too much salt until you've tasted it all together. So we'll give it a little taste. That. Oh my God, that is delicious. Like I said, the salty, I'll just take a little bit more. The salty halloumi really elevates this dish. One more bit. Oh. And that squeaky halloumi texture, friggin' awesome. So that there is your saag. Again, apologies for the middle section, but that's how it goes. So now we'll move on to the last one. We've finally made it to the last curry that we're gonna make. So this one is an egg curry. Again, I've done my prep. We are ready to go. So it's fast and quick and easy to do. We all know these things over here. We've got some sliced onion. I think I've got about 1.5 sliced onions. I've got a little bit of green chili. I've got a little bit of coriander. We've got some ginger and we've got some garlic, about a teaspoon of each. We've got some curry leaves. And then here are my boiled eggs. If you're not sure how to do these, up here I've put a link to a video where you can learn how to do soft boiled eggs. So I've done them in preparation for this. So I already boiled them, I peeled them, and I've got them ready to go like this. So it just makes it really quick and easy. For this one, we've got a few little different spices. We've got some mustard seeds and some fennel seeds. So it's gonna have a little bit of a different flavor to it to some of the other curries. And it's also gonna have some cardamom in it and lots of coconut milk. So this is kind of a creamy, yellow, yellowy kind of curry that's quite mild, not too offensive. But yeah, just a few little hints of different flavors in the background. So, let's hope I don't run out of battery or not forget to push play on this one. Honestly, sometimes. Yeah, we're just gonna get this cooked. But this one, much like the saag, very fast. So it doesn't really take much to do. Okay, a little bit of oil and butter in the bottom. If you had some coconut oil, that would be amazing. So we're gonna go 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds, 1/2 teaspoon of fennel seeds, and our 5 whole cardamom. They go in first, and we start cooking them off. And then we go onions. All of this stuff on the plate is all going in now. And we're going to cook that all off. You just need to give them large spices a little fry in the oil to infuse it all and, to get it going. And then just to help with them onions, like always, a little teaspoon of salt. So we want these, oh my God, again, it just smells freaking awesome. We want to cook these down for a couple of minutes. We've had a few minutes cooking, they've all softened down. It smells insane. Now we're going to add the spices and let them cook out for a minute. So we've got a tablespoon of coriander, ground coriander, 1/2 teaspoon of Kashmiri chili, and 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. And we cook that for just a few minutes, and then we're going to add in the tomato. Oh my God, I mean, look at that. That just looks incredible. It also just smells absolutely insane. Like I said, very different smells from the last two that we've made. And then we'll add in that tomato. Again, I've used a can of tomato, the equivalent to 1.5 tomatoes, fresh, if you were using it fresh. We'll give that a minute or two to cook out Same like before, we want to see that oil separating, which means that it's cooking. Just give it a few minutes and then we'll add our coconut milk. So I'm going to add that in. And let that simmer away for 5 minutes, and then we'll add our eggs. And that is the egg curry. As you can see, it's reduced. You know, the sauce has become nice and thick. It's coating them eggs. And all you want to do is put them in for the last 5 minutes just to re-warm them up. And that's it. We'll give it a little taste, like we have all the others. Oh. Like I said already, very different from the other ones, has a very different flavour. That fennel and the curry leaves and the mustard, they are all quite a different flavour from other things. This is just a really lovely veggie curry that has really incredible flavour in it. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I absolutely love it. It really is a really great tasting curry. I did already say, you know, I think I just absolutely love curry. I always have and always will. You know, when me and my friends were like 17, 19, we used to go and have curry on a Sunday. Like, yeah, it's always been a big part of sort of my food journey, you know, when I was like younger, growing up in the UK. Everyone just loves a curry. So that's all the curry's made. We just need to do the rice and finish off the breads. And this curry feast is ready to go. Finally, the last dish, the rice. I've left it till last because we're making pilaf. So it's going in the oven to bake. And what we can do is bake the broccoli at the same time. So that's why I've left this one till last. Now, this is, yeah, a kind of pilaf rice, a little bit more fancy than just your steamed regular rice. But if you do just want to have steamed, lovely rice, well then there's a video, I think the link should be here, of how to do it perfectly every single time. But, you know, we're having a feast, my friends are coming around for dinner, I want to make something a little bit fancy. So we're going to make pilaf. A little bit of chopped onion sliced, some caraway seeds, bit of butter and some oil. And then we toast the rice off in it, we cover it with water and we bake it in the oven. Very easy. Small amount of prep. Great one to, you know, even if you're having just a Saag on a Friday, you know, you've made the quick Saag and you want some fancy rice, well then this is the one to have. You know, you can add all sorts of spices and other things to it, but I just quite like the simplicity of this one. So, to the stove we go. Here we go again, we've got the oil and the butter, and then we are just going to add some onions and we are going to sweat them down until they turn into this. So the onions have cooked down, I added a little teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to add in the caraway seeds and toast them off just for a few minutes. But you want to make sure at this point you're really keeping an eye on them onions because they're starting to turn and we don't want them to go black or burn. And then caraway seeds have toasted for just a few minutes, and now we'll add the rice and we're going to toast it off in all that lovely oil. You want to make sure that each and every grain is coated. I don't know whether you can see, you know, this one here where it's still a little bit white hasn't got any oil on it, but these ones where they're opaque or where they're sort of gone clear have got the oil on them. So just a few minutes toasting in that oil and we cover with water. we cover it only just with water. So up to that first knuckle. Turn off the heat. Pop on some grease-proof paper. And put on your oven-proof lid. In my case, it's the lid off of my cast iron pan, because it's the only thing that can go into the oven. And it goes into the oven for 35 minutes at 185 degrees. Oh my God, these just smell incredible. And finally, that insane broccoli. And that's it, the crowning glory, the broccoli, roasted to perfection in the oven with all that lovely juice and yogurt and just spices and flavour. There it is, Del's Indian feast, the vegetarian delight, the absolute superstars of, just flavour. This really has just been such a joy to cook. As I said before, I love Indian, I love the cuisine, I'd love to go there. If any of you are from there, let me know, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me, did I do it right or did I do it wrong? Let me know in the comments section down below. And yeah, it's just time to tuck in. The girls are on their way and dinner is served. So no eating from me today, but I mean, you get the idea. I've tasted them all along the way and they're absolutely freaking delicious. So I really hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I'll see you all next week.